Emma Carter, 34, stood at her kitchen window, hands wrapped around a warm mug, watching the morning light drift across her quiet neighborhood. She had always loved mornings, the softness, the possibility. But today felt like another reminder of everything she had lost. 3 years had passed since the breakup that left her heart bruised beyond recognition. She once believed love was sacred, something God handpicked. But when the man she planned to marry walked away without explanation, leaving behind only silence, Emma's faith fractured. Since then, she lived carefully, cautiously, almost fearfully, as if any open door could be another trap. She went to work, came home, slept, repeated. Life, once full of color, now moved in muted tones. Friends told her to be strong, but strength felt heavy. Her mother told her to pray, but prayer felt hollow. Emma still believed in God, but she didn't believe he cared about her heart anymore. Yet deep inside, in a place she rarely touched, a quiet longing still stirred. Not just for love, but for purpose, for healing, for a life that felt alive again. She prayed one short prayer, whispered so softly she wasn't sure heaven even heard it. God, please, show me something. Anything. What she didn't know was that God had already begun writing the next chapter, and it would enter her life in the most unexpected way. A week later, Emma attended Sunday service, not out of devotion, but out of habit. She sat in the last row, the place where people who don't want to be noticed easily disappear. As the service ended, she stepped outside into the crisp air, pulling her coat close. That's when she saw him, a man sitting alone on the church steps, head bowed, hands clasped tightly. His clothes were simple, worn, but his presence quiet and peaceful. Emma felt something stir, a nudge, a gentle pull. She tried to ignore it, but something unseen whispered, "Talk to him." When she approached, he looked up with warm, soft eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Just praying for direction," he said. "Life changes fast, doesn't it?" Emma nodded. She knew that truth too well. They spoke for a few minutes, nothing deep, nothing dramatic. Yet Emma felt a strange calm around him. Before she left, he said softly, "Sometimes God brings us to the end of something so he can start something new." His words struck something inside her. She didn't even know his name, but his presence stayed with her long after she drove away. The next Sunday, Emma returned, this time with a little more intention. She hoped she might see the stranger again. She didn't know why, but something about him had felt safe. When she stepped outside after service, there he was, standing under the old oak tree. He smiled softly. "You came back." Emma blushed lightly. "I guess I did." They talked about simple things. Books, favorite places, childhood memories. The stranger introduced himself as Daniel Hayes, 36, a man rebuilding his life after losing his job and moving to town to care for his aging uncle. There was a gentleness in his voice, a sincerity in his eyes that Emma had forgotten men could have. He didn't flirt. He didn't push. He simply listened. And in his calm presence, Emma felt something she hadn't felt in years: ease. But as the conversation deepened, Emma pulled back. A voice in her mind whispered, "Don't trust, don't try, don't hope." Daniel noticed her shift and said quietly, "Emma, you don't have to be afraid of the beginning. God writes better stories than the ones that broke us." Her breath caught. For the first time, the tight walls around her heart trembled. Emma's healing wasn't a straight line. One evening, as she cleaned her closet, she found an old box filled with memories of her former fiancé. Letters, pictures, a ring he never returned. The past hit her like a storm. She sank to the floor, sobbing into her hands, overwhelmed by old pain that felt new again. She had started to trust Daniel, slowly, cautiously, but memories of betrayal whispered that love only leads to wounds. She told herself she was foolish to think she deserved something better. That night, she didn't answer Daniel's message. She ignored his call. She felt unworthy of something new when her heart was still broken. The next day, he showed up at her door, not with pressure, not with anger, but with kindness. "Emma," he said softly, "healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means believing your story isn't over." His words broke something open inside her. For the first time, she allowed herself to cry, not because she was weak, but because she was finally letting go. That night, Emma knelt beside her bed, something she hadn't done in a long time. With trembling hands and a voice barely above a whisper, she prayed, "God, I'm scared. But if you're giving me a new beginning, help me trust it." The room felt still, peaceful, not dramatic, not loud, just a soft calm that wrapped around her heart. She felt for the first time in years that God was not distant. He was near. Emma stood up lighter, breathing easier. She called Daniel. "Can you meet me at the park?" When he arrived, Emma looked at him with honest, vulnerable eyes. "I'm tired of being afraid," she said. "Maybe God isn't asking me to forget the past, just to believe he's writing something new." Daniel smiled, gentle and grateful. "Emma, I don't want to replace your pain. I just want to walk with you through whatever God is doing." Her heart finally opened, not to a man, but to hope. Months passed, and Emma's life slowly bloomed again. She laughed more. She smiled freely. She trusted God in ways she once thought impossible. Daniel became a steady, consistent presence, patient, gentle, and respectful of every boundary she set. One evening, as they walked near the lake, Daniel said quietly, "Emma, I thank God for you every day." She looked at him, eyes soft. For the first time, she felt no fear, no doubt, only peace. The kind that comes when God himself rewrites your story. Emma realized that healing didn't come from Daniel. It came from the courage God planted in her, the courage to open her heart again. The past didn't define her. Pain didn't imprison her. God had written a new chapter, one filled with hope, trust, and gentle beginnings. Emma whispered to herself, "I'm not who I was. I'm who God is making me." And for the first time in years, she felt whole. Healing begins the moment you stop protecting your pain and start trusting God's plan. Emma learned that God doesn't erase the past. He transforms it into wisdom, strength, and unexpected new beginnings. Sometimes the hardest step is opening your heart again. But that's exactly where God writes his best stories.